Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Lawrence Laddie. I am the host of Financial Independence Through Small Multifamily Investing. And without further ado, I'm going to bring up Eddie Symmonett. He's from Alabama, right? Birmingham to be exact, right? And he just closed last week, right?
It was last week on the 20th.
Last week on the 20th, a 48-unit complex, right? And he said he's going to name it Pearl. So I'm going to ask you, Eddie, before you start your presentation, what does Pearl mean? Why Pearl?
Okay, absolutely, and thank you everyone for having me and taking the time out to listen to me tonight and share time with you guys. I'm naming the complex Pearl at Sun Valley. It's after my late grandmother, so just learned a lot, and just have a lot that I owe her, so I wanted to kind of make tribute, in my own way, just of her memory. So, that's, a unique opportunity that we have, as entrepreneurs and investors. I just saw this would be a great opportunity to, have a piece of her with me. And so it means a lot. And that's what kind of, brought me through this deal on the highs and lows and stuff, so family is super important to me. And it's just a great opportunity when you're able to, share a memory of, a family member, through your investment journey. So.
Thank you. Okay. And one last question. What made you get started in real estate?
Made me got started. So I'm gonna get to it too on the presentation, but I'm gonna just touch on it. I'm gonna touch on it real quick. Okay, mainly good. It was like I did not want to do a 9 to 5. I just knew it like my junior year of college. I was like, okay, this isn't a route for me. And that was mainly it. I was like, okay, I got to find something different because I do not see myself just, typing on a computer, for the rest of my life for like 30 years. So, I just had to find something where I can move around. So that's how come. Yeah. Okay,
but I'm going to answer 2 questions because it's interesting. I'll let everybody know why Pearl, right? So now, once again, Eddie Symmonett, take it away, man.
Thank you. And y'all, I'm gonna just share my screen. So I'm gonna just look for like some thumbs ups to make sure that y'all can see this little presentation I put together for everyone. So go into present mode and then y'all can just give me like a thumbs up. I'll let me know when y'all can see my screen and I'll get started. Awesome. So hey guys, once again, my name is Eddie Symmonett. I'm originally from Nassau, Bahamas. Here's some of my contact information is also gonna be available at the end of the presentation, but appreciate you guys taking the time out of y'all evening today to hear me talk. I hope that y'all able to take away some nuggets from this that y'all can implement in your own real estate journey. And then also feel free to reach out to me afterwards with any questions. So this is just, how I got started and where I'm from. So I'm from a small island called Nassau, Bahamas. So it's about a 21-mile island, about 30 minutes away from Miami. So we have a little joke. We say it's so small. If you drive too fast, you'll end up in the ocean. So yeah, I mean, I'm from like a little small place in humble beginnings. So, I always dreamt big though. I knew like if I wasn't going to be a professional athlete that I did want to do something with business. So even growing up on my mom's side of the family, everyone had dipped their toes in some level of real estate, right? So a lot like was passed down from my grandparents was, to get a good job and go to college, but then also to save up and have a supplemental source of income or a second stream of income. So a lot of my close family, whether it be my aunts, uncles, my mom, everyone, had like some small property. So I kind of saw that growing up. I was able to see the highs and lows of being a landlord at an early age. So whether it be putting someone out of a unit when they ain't paying rent or, having to help them paint units and stuff. So, I was able to see a lot of that growing up. But as far as a profession, I didn't really know how it worked or how I would be able to get my start in it. So I ended up moving to the States at 18 years old. Went to Stillman College, which is a HBCU school in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And at my tenure at Stillman, I played collegiate tennis. So that I got a full ride to go to school there. So that was a blessing to do that. And I was able to learn and also follow my passion in sports at the same time. So about my junior year of college, because I was an accountant major, I realized I was good at accounting, but as I got deeper into the major, I just saw like, this wasn't really something that I thought I could see myself doing, for the next 20 to 30 to 40 years. And that's one thing I would say too, like when you're choosing a profession or choosing a career path, just ask yourself, can I see myself doing this for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? If the answer is no, you got to find something else. So I asked myself that, and I was like, you know what, I got to figure something else out. So about my junior year of college, I had the opportunity to go to like a workshop, the real estate 3-day events that they have all across the states. So I went to one of those, and it was just like, drinking from a fire hose. There was so much information coming at me at once. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do with all of this. But one takeaway I got from that was networking. So I was able to find like my first mentor from like just sharing my passion with folks, like just telling them, hey, what I'm trying to do, and I love this, and I want to do this as a profession. And I was able to start interning with an agent who worked for Keller Williams, but she also was a real estate investor. So she did the wholesaling strategy, as well as she owned some rental property. So my junior year of college, and you already know how money is when you're in college, money is tight, but I would commute about like 2 times a week, and I would just drive up to Birmingham, Alabama, which is an hour away from Tuscaloosa. So at the time I was interning, driving up an hour and just, working and trying to learn as much as I can about real estate. At the same time, I'm trying to matriculate because I'm from the islands, and like, that's one thing you don't do. You don't start school and not finish. That's an easy way not to be able to get home again. So I had to figure out how to matriculate at the same time. And I was working a job, so I had to juggle all those things in college, but it worked out. And after, I would say my senior year, I had the opportunity to where I had saved up about 6 months of living expenses. And I was like, okay, I have 2 options. I'm 21 years old right now. I can go ahead and try this real estate thing out, or I can take the safe route, and just go and pursue an accounting profession and get a CPA and move forward in that. And, I just burned my ships, man. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take the risk. Now's the best time. And like, what's the worst that can happen, right? So that's something, you can ask yourself as well. Like, what's the worst that can happen, if I took this risk? And would it be the benefits from me doing it? So that's one question I asked myself. And it was a done deal after that. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and, give real estate a go. So these are my top 3 reasons why I like apartment investing. Number 1 is cash flow. So we hear it all the time. I'm not meaning to be cliche, but it's true. Cash flow is king. And I found that out like earlier on in my journey. I started wholesaling properties, and I realized, I wasn't running it as a business. So I was mainly just trading time for money. So it was just like a cuter version of a job, because if you're not wholesaling and selling deals, what's going to happen? You ain't getting no revenue in. And I don't know about y'all, but my bills come every month. I have a power bill every month. I have a water bill every month. I have, bills every month. So it's just like, I was looking at it like, if I'm not closing this wholesale deal, how am I supposed to pay my bills? Because, I was full-time at this point, I just, went full-time into real estate. So after like my second wholesale transaction, I was like, you know what, I got to figure something else out. But definitely with multifamily apartments, cash flow is king. And then also amortization and debt pay down. So one thing a lot of people don't really talk about is, as you're owning these properties, you're also building equity, right? So as you're paying down the debt on these properties, your equity is building. So that's one thing. Also forced appreciation. So through us increasing our NOI, our net operating income on the properties, we are we're dictating what the property can sell for in the future. So that's one thing why I like apartments too, because you have control. It's not like other investments where you maybe mainly speculate on what the market is going to do or can do in the future. You actually have control over the destiny of that investment, right? Through implementing your business plan and making right business decisions, and also buying the property as well as selling right. So you have, it's the ball is in your court. No one is to blame but you. You have the responsibility and the opportunity to, take this thing through and make it a successful deal for you and your investors. Another reason why I like apartment investing is, in my opinion, is less risky because you have economies of scale. So I like to look at each individual property that we're buying as real estate investors as an individual business. And I would encourage you to do so as well. So if we just do a quick example and look at a single family house that you're potentially wanting to rent out to a tenant, right? So on a single family house, you have one person that's paying 100% of the revenue any given month on that property, right? So how much businesses do you guys know that has one client, or one customer? Virtually like no business has one customer, right? So, that was my whole thing about like, so why are we focusing on like single family homes when we should be focusing on having economies of scale? So literally any given month, you could go from 100% collections to 0% collections. You could go from you maybe getting some cash flow each month to now you're having to come out of pocket to pay your mortgage and any type of maintenance or repairs, right? But let's just take it up one step. What if we just did a duplex instead of a single family house? Now you have two streams of income. So now if one person isn't paying you, you're still collecting 50% of your revenue. Let's take it up a notch again. What if you had a fourplex apartment? If one person isn't paying you, you're still collecting 75% of your revenue. And let's just take it up another notch. So if you have a 48 unit apartment complex, if 5 people aren't paying you, you're still collecting over 95% of your revenue, right? So, I like to think about multifamily as like really like a tried and true business. Like it's a business to where, is not a hobby. You can hire people and it's enough revenue and scale there to where you can build a lot of safe wealth. And then also it's a vehicle for financial freedom. So I didn't know about mailbox money until I closed my first deal, which was my duplex. And, up until that point, I was, wholesaling and, you do all this work and you get your check, once you close the deal. But I bought this duplex apartment and at closing, I got the first month's rent for the upcoming rent month that was coming up. Then I also got a security deposit, right? So I had about $950 coming into me just for closing this deal. And that was like the light bulb for me. I was like, listen, I didn't do nothing but sign on this piece of paper and I get a check where I was busting my butt for like 2 months trying to wholesale these deals. So for me, I was just like, I found what I love, and it just try to move forward from there. So definitely believe in the ability to have that just passive income. Like, I don't know about y'all, but like when I go home, now that I own 90 apartments, I'm still getting rental revenue. Like when I go to the Bahamas and I'm on the beach chilling with family, I can look at my bank account and I still have tenants paying on the first. Versus if I'm in the Bahamas and I'm trying to, wholesale a deal or do something else like that, it's more active. So that's one of the things I really like about apartments. It gives you the opportunity to really enjoy life and spend time with people that matter to you the most, right? So that's one of the reasons I really like apartments. So this is just like a quick timeline on my journey. So my first deal was a wholesale deal, like I told you guys about. So I'll even give y'all some numbers on this thing. I think my first deal, I may have made like $500 or $600, and like I know that's like super low, like we're used to like on a wholesale deal. But I kind of was just trying to figure out if this real estate thing was real. So I didn't do it the right way, like finding a buyer first and then finding a deal. I just had an opportunity. I was like, okay, you want to sell your property? I can find someone to buy it. And I had to learn the hard way on that one, but I still was able to come out, at least getting some profit to show me that real estate was real. But that was my first transaction. And then after that, I did a duplex. So this is a property I actually live in today. And I did the house hacking method. So live in one side, rent out the other side. I bought this property back in 2017 at about 22 years old with no job other than real estate investing. So as you can imagine, like banks were not taking me seriously. And this is back, in 2017. Banks was not looking at me. The first thing they was asking is, how long have you been on your job, and show me 2-3 years of tax returns. I didn't really have that, right? So I had to get creative. Another mentor, someone I looked up to, I actually bought this property from him, and we did what's called seller financing. So since I couldn't get a loan from a bank, I found a way to where I could put down a down payment, and then the remaining of the purchase price, the seller actually held that as a note for 9 years, so I could purchase the property. And I made sure that the mortgage payment was low enough to where the cash flows on that one side would cover that and still leave me about like $120 a month, any given month. So that was just the, creativeness, at an earlier in my journey is, and I would encourage you guys to do the same. Is just, don't limit yourself, right? If you have an opportunity that you feel as though is a good deal, instead of saying, oh no, I don't really have the answers, figure out a way to get that deal done. Reach out to people, ask them questions, because you never really know unless you ask. So that was one thing. I didn't even know what seller financing was until, we started talking about it and going through scenarios on what we could possibly do to get the deal done. So that was my first multifamily deal. I still own it today, still live there today. Second property was a fourplex apartment I bought that same year back in 2017. And I bought this property cash. It's in a rough area, so it's like a D-class area, but this property was mainly this is like my true transition to doing it full time, because I had the opportunity to buy this property cash at $26,000 and do some rehab to it, without, taking out a mortgage. So I had an opportunity to own a property free and clear, that's in a D-class area. And I kind of just asked myself this question while I was trying to make this decision, because, we hear it time and time again, watch out for like areas like this, right? But I was like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? I have the money. I know the numbers work. It's on my performance, it's doing like 20% cash on cash return if I buy this project, so why not, right? So, I mean, for me, the reward, it was higher than the risk. So I just made the decision to go ahead, and this deal has been great to me. I've owned it for 5 years, and now I average about 40 to 45% cash on cash return. Had I not been using this property as an ATM, literally to pay my monthly bills, I probably I already would have paid it off, and I already would have, had the money in a bank account for what I, purchased the property for. And then after that, it's a 36 unit property, that I bought back in 2019. So this one, at this point, I had the opportunity to invest with my mom and my aunt on this deal. So this is property right here that has the mulch and everything like that. And I wish I had a before picture for you guys, but this thing was rough. It was like this picture right here, the fourplex, and then just take it down a notch, just add in some busted windows, add in some doors that's missing, add in some trash into this courtyard. And then you had this property, how it looked before I rehabbed it. But, I had the opportunity. And also I wanted to say all of these deals was off market direct to seller. So that's another thing too. Brokers weren't really taking me serious. So I had to get creative again and figure out a way to get a good deal, because the things that was coming to my inbox or what they were showing me was literally the deals that they already showed 20 investors, and everyone knows it's not a good deal. So now they're trying to get a newbie to buy it, right? So I kind of already knew, okay, this probably wasn't an opportunity for me. So I had to go out and, find these deals. So to give you some contrast, over the past 5 years, I've looked at over 500 apartment complexes in the Birmingham area. And when I mean look, I mean literally drive up to the property, take down addresses, try to find the owner, about 500 apartments total. And I've kept a list of these. So, usually I just follow up, and that's how I'm able to, have so much success on off-market deals. But I'm gonna go into that in the future on a future slide. But this deal, I bought it for this 36 unit deal. I bought it for $400K. It was about 30% occupied. And I learned a lot on this deal. It was supposed to take me about 12 months to rehab this thing. It ended up taking us 2 years. COVID did not help the situation with materials going up. But we went, it's still a good deal for me. So I had to gut and rehab about like 25 apartments. I had to fire my first contractor, and what really turned this project around for me was just taking responsibility. I'm here in this deal, and just knowing that I'm gonna do everything I can for me and my investors, which is my family, to make sure that, we have a successful deal. So I bought it for $400K. We refinanced this thing about 4 months ago and the value at refinance was $1,560,000. So we literally increased the value on this property 1.1 million. We're all in on the property at 650K. So that's about 915K in equity, and this one project took me to, the accredited investor status. So, right now we're at about 85% occupancy. We use one of the units as an office. And then we have about like four or five more units left to rehab, and then we'll be fully occupied. So we by Q1 and Q1 next year, we're estimating to be fully occupied on this project. But if I were to do it again, I definitely would. Buying a 36 unit for the price. I don't know if there's anyone on this call that's upstate, but y'all probably think I'm lying when I said I bought this thing for 400K, but it's a true story. But yeah, and then I recently just closed on a 48 unit deal, which is Pearl at Sun Valley. We just renamed it after my grandmother, but this project was like my first syndication outside of family and friends. So this deal was like a 506B syndication. We have about 35 investors total, including myself in the deal. And it's a great project. We bought this one 100% occupied. So you see now I'm getting into more stabilized projects in nicer areas. It's a B-class area, and this one is like a 5 to 7 year hold. So, now, this one is like easier project. So during the time of owning the 36 unit property, I also did start a property management company. And I think Keela is still on the call. Jaquila Carlton, she's my property manager. And we went to school together too. So she literally watched me from my first property, or when I was struggling to get this thing going. And then now she's a property manager for my company. So that's another thing too, sharing your journey. I'm big on that. If you check out my social media, I'm all about like just sharing the highs and lows about your business, because, when you're transparent, people appreciate that and they start believing in your vision. So she literally saw me from, when I was just asking her to help me out for free and do marketing, to now she's our lead property manager for 90 units in Birmingham. So, I think it's very important to share your vision. But the reason I started the property management company was last year during COVID, but in the height of March, I had about like 2 week time frame where I was not able to get in touch with the current property manager I had when I was using a third party company. And this is in the height of COVID. I had 4 units on market. And as the owner, I'm having to go and show units, and I'm having to coordinate maintenance tech calls. So that just like the light bulb to me. At that point, I was just like, I asked myself that question again. What's the worst that could happen if I go ahead and try to start my own property management company? So I was like, hey, I've been managing my duplex and my 4 unit for the past 4 years now. At that time, I know how much it costs to turn a unit. I know how to collect rents. So I felt comfortable making that transition. It was one of the best decisions I made last year. We were averaging around like 78 to 82% collections. Our first month of transition to Symmonett management, we had 100% collections that first month across the whole portfolio. And then now we average around like 95 to 98% collections across the whole portfolio. So that's another thing to motivate you guys. Like if you guys have seen like an opportunity where you have talents in it and you feel confident to take a leap and go, like ask yourself, what's the worst that can go wrong and what's the best that can come out of the situation? So, that was one of the best decisions I made, and then now we're up to 3 employees, not including myself, and we manage 90 units in the Birmingham area. And our focus is just our own portfolio. So we don't really do any third party management, even though I've had a lot of people ask me, if we did that. But yeah, so that's some of that. So now into like the meat and potatoes too. So I wanted to add a lot of value to you guys, and I wanted to kind of share some strategies that I've used to find off market deals. So driving for dollars is like the number one strategy I like. And even before you do that, you can literally, I'm an old school guy. So I'm 27, but I'm not that sophisticated with stuff like, so I just started old school with the driving for dollars thing. I went on Google Maps. I figured out some zip codes I liked. And then once you put in the zip code, it would map out the area. So you can literally go on the aerial view and try to identify multifamily properties that way. So I would, put together a list of maybe 5, 10, 15 properties I thought would be of interest. Like once I look at the street view, and I would drive these properties, and if I thought it was an opportunity, I would take down, try to get the owner's information and try to reach out to them. So I did this on like about 500 apartment complexes in the Birmingham area. So that's one thing that you guys can do. And you can do it like on a weekend. You may have family with you, or you may have an opportunity where you have an hour or two. You can map out an area, preemptively, and then on the weekend, just drive a few properties. And then when you get to the property, don't just drive by and not say anything to anyone. If you see tenants out there, ask them who the owner is. Tell them, you interested in the property. You don't have to say you're interested in rent. Just say, hey, I'm interested in the property. You have any contact information for the property manager or the owner? I've literally gotten deals that way, like just not being afraid to speak up and actually, do what a lot of people aren't doing. Because nowadays, I mean, everyone, once you're owning property, you're getting calls or mailers that say all the same thing. So when you can, differentiate yourself as an investor from everyone else and go that extra step, and get in front of someone, people appreciate that. People appreciate when you take that extra time to get on a phone call with them or have like a handwritten note, like sent to them, or reach out to their maintenance tech or like a tenant and try to get in touch with them. Like people appreciate it and they take you more seriously versus just the easy route, which is like the we buy houses direct mail, right? If you're doing direct mail, in my opinion, at least make it personal, right? Whether it's, you having a signature at the bottom of it, or handwriting it, just make it personal. Because I mean, I just, that's how I would want to be treated. If someone was trying to buy one of my properties, I would actually take them a little bit more seriously if they took the time to handwrite out a note versus just a standard we buy houses. I saw your property at XYZ, can we buy it, right? So definitely like just going the extra mile. It'll pay off. So, I mean, you ask yourself, if you spent 4 weekends or 5 weekends and you were able to find one 48-unit deal, was that worth it for you? Was that worth like taking the time to go look at these properties? If you could get one property that really changed your trajectory of your life, and then now you can have financial freedom or at least be on the track to do it. So like for me, I think it's definitely worth it taking the extra mile. And then also persistence. This 48-unit deal that I just bought, I saw this thing about 3 years ago, just driving by it. And I tried to reach out to the owner. They wasn't entertaining an offer at that time, but it's persistence. 2 years down the road now in 2021, I owned a property. But had I just given up on that first touch and I hadn't followed up with them or found like more creative ways to get in touch with them, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to be first of mine and have the opportunity to put in an offer on the deal. So persistence, like, just don't take no for an answer, right? so maybe that first no, maybe that means not right now. So don't just take it as a flat out no. It may mean not right now. And maybe I could try this person out in 6 to 8 months. So I would always like just try to, be persistent with people, and just follow up with them. Because I mean, that's where you get the most value from in the follow-up game. And then also networking. We don't live in a day and age anymore where, you can't be out here like not telling people what you do. To be competitive now, you got to share what you're doing. How are people going to know if they want to invest with you, or how are people going to know if they can collaborate with you, or if you can help someone's situation if you're not telling people what you do, right? So don't think of it like boasting or puffing out your chest. It's just you sharing your journey. So whether it be on social media, whether it be just having a conversation with family and friends or people that just think about it as a way to document your journey. So I would definitely encourage you guys, like if you haven't already, start sharing the highs and lows. Start sharing, the things you're going through day to day with your real estate journey. People love that because like nowadays, everyone is just showing you, everything is going like fine and dandy. But it, like when they see you being transparent, oh yeah, we had a sewer line burst and here's what we're doing to fix it. When people are seeing that, it makes them, align more with you because, everything isn't perfect out here. So I just encourage you guys to like share your journey. And these are some things that I look for, when looking at potential properties, and it varies sometimes. So like I said, I bought D-class properties, but I've also, the last transaction was a B-class property. So, but these are some things I look at, right? So you want to look at the rent comps, right? What is the property renting at that you're trying to buy versus what properties in that immediate area are renting for? Is it rent disparity? Is it a difference between, what properties are renting for next door versus the one that you're trying to buy? And is it comparable as far as like the amenities, right? So you can identify opportunity by looking at those things. A lot of times you may have tired out owners, like the person we just bought the deal from. They owned the property for like 20 plus years. They had a mortgage paid off and it was a great condition property, but it still was about $175 in rent disparity there. So it's not always the property that is overgrown, and is just boarded up. Sometimes if you can find an opportunity for someone that has owned a property for a long period of time that still has that value add component, and you may not have to have the heavy lift, right? So another way is like the obvious things that you see, like, so, the boarded up windows, obviously if someone doesn't have the money to fix up a property, maybe they may entertain an offer to just get out of the deal. And then also the area, as far as like the area, I like to invest in properties that are close to me, simply because, I have a management company as well. So it's just easier to scale out a portfolio if it's in my backyard. It's easier to commute to the properties. It's easier to manage them, in my opinion, at least starting out. So I like to buy properties that are, in 20, 30-mile radius of 20 to 30 minute drive from where I live. So, but then also, like, is it an A-class area, B-class area, C-class area, D-class area? What kind of area is it? And are you comfortable investing in that area, right? So for me, I was comfortable investing in a D-class area, but you may not be comfortable doing that, right? So at the end of the day, you're the person that's going to have, if you're an active operator, you're the person that's going to have to be going out to the property and checking on it. So if it's an area that you don't feel comfortable going in, don't do it, But then is it on or off market? So all of the properties I've bought to date, I've done 8 real estate transactions to date. All of them have been off market, direct to seller. So I'm not meaning to say that everything has to be off market, but you can have a good opportunity on market as well. So my next deal may be an on market deal, but you want to know, like, is it a listed deal, or is it a deal where you can possibly get in touch directly with the seller? And then also, like, the purchase price, if it's listed, what's the purchase price versus, like, what are things traded at in the area? And then also the number of vacancies. So are you buying a property that has a large amount of vacancies, or is it fully occupied? Those are things you need to take in consideration, because that's going to dictate what type of business plan you have going into the project. So I think oh yeah. So these are the steps for success. So networking, your network is your net worth. I definitely believe in that. Don't be afraid to share your journey with people, whether it be in person or on social media. Also partnering and partnerships. Don't feel as though you can't partner with family members. So that's one thing that a lot of people, is a preconceived notion. Okay, it's family, and it can turn out bad. But I would definitely say, family is an option for you as a business owner. Don't be afraid to have those conversations with family, because you can get a deal done with family as well. Also having passion for what you do. So whether multifamily real estate is your passion or if something else is your passion, you need to find something that you could see yourself waking up and giving 100% every day on. So if that's multifamily real estate, even better. And then also invest in yourself, education, meeting people, going to conferences, reading, invest in yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, people are investing in the person first, right? They want to invest. They want to know who is operating the deal. Who am I trusting my money with? So the more things that you could take to, the more steps that you could take to, be, a better person and understand what you're doing, the better. And then also learn from your hardships. It's not going to be an easy road. You're gonna run into challenges in your multifamily journey, but also you can use that as an opportunity to learn from it, and then also share it with people, so they wouldn't make the same mistakes. So I really appreciate you guys for taking the time to listen to me. I hope, it was something of value that you guys got from it, but appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
I'm gonna say thank you, Eddie. Thank you very much for sharing your real estate journey with us. And you can stop your screen sharing because I can't see people.
Got you. Sorry about that.
No problem. So what are some of the missteps? I mean, everybody has a question. I'm sure people has a question, but I want to ask one question. What are some of the missteps you made? Forget about the wholesaling. What missteps did you make when you got to the multifamily part of your journey?
Mm-hmm. So I would say definitely, like, probably not vetting out like contractors the right way. I thought I could just stop at like getting 3 bids and being done with it. but I really should have taken the extra step and actually went out and asked them to see projects that they did. So I didn't do that. If I'd asked them to see like current projects that they already had going on, or past projects that they had done, I think that would have gave me, more ammunition to where I can make a better decision on who I was going with as a contractor. So yeah, definitely that was one thing that I would change.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask anybody would like to ask a question. Go ahead, Kenneth.
Hey, first, Eddie, thanks for the presentation. It's always great to hear someone's journey. I have several questions, but like one is like on your path from like the 1 to 2, you saw like you scaling like 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. When did you decide? Like, were you self-managing throughout the whole way? And when did you like? I know you mentioned the jump. You went to the PM company at the 36. Were you doing the 2 to 4 story by yourself ad hoc? And what tools were you using then?
Yeah. So basically, you're right on the money. So like the 2 and 4 unit, I just was kind of doing it myself. I was full time at that time, so it's not like I had a job. So that's just the route I took. It was like the most natural route, and I thought it was an opportunity for me to like learn more about the real estate business and really immerse myself. So yeah, I mean, as far as like rent collection, I set up like bank accounts to where the tenants could pay, directly to a bank account. So that's how I was doing all of my collections. As far as like bookkeeping, I used GoDaddy. They had like a income and expense, like an income statement and a balance sheet that you could buy on their website. So that's what I was using when I first started out. Right now, we're actually starting with Outfolio. So that's what the software we're using right now. But starting out, I'm coming from an accounting background, so I kind of already, it wasn't that hard for me to keep track of expenses, keep track of income, like on a small scale when you're just talking, 6 units total. But yeah, on the 36 unit, I went in with a third-party manager, but back in COVID year last year, I decided that wasn't really the best route for me.
Good, Desmond.
Yes, great presentation, Eddie. Love your story.
Thank you.
With all your properties, are they under one LLC or did you put them in different ones? Is my question as well.
Okay, thanks, Desmond. I appreciate it. And all my properties are in separate LLCs, so that's just like how I was taught. I just went with what was told was the best way for anonymity and everything. So my duplex, is in my personal name, and I think I need to turn it over to the LLC. That's the only one that's in my personal name. But at the time, I was trying to get what they call a homestead exemption. So I was trying to lower my property taxes. But, right now I probably need to transfer that over. But everything else is in a single purpose entity. So my fourplex is in a separate entity to my 36 unit. My 36 unit is a separate entity for my 48 unit. So I think that's the rule of thumb, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but most of what I've been seeing is like everyone usually, creates a new single purpose entity when they're trying to do a new acquisition, especially when you have like multiple people involved in the deal.
And you just have contracts of percentage of equity amongst the owners, right? Yeah,
so on my 36 unit, it's just a simple split. So 50-50. On the 48 unit deal we just closed, it's a 506B syndication. So, it has like tiers to it. So I have a 6 pref built in there, and then it's a split after that, and then it has, incentives for our investors at certain, points in the investment.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, Barbara had a question, Barbara. I'm getting next, Alicia.
So, first of all, can you put your information back up so we can see it again? And then second of all, I had a question about, I'm not sure if you know on property management. I've always thought that you had to have a real estate license to do property management, but maybe or someone knows if that's true.
Well, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just managing my own property. I don't really see anyone coming up to me and saying, "Hey, Eddie, you can't manage your own property. You need to have a property management license." So, I mean, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but in my aspect of it, I'm only managing my own properties. I'm not doing like third party management. So I haven't really encountered any type of difficulties with that.
In Pennsylvania and in most states, it depends on the state. If you manage your own properties, you're fine. It's when you do the third party or act as a broker, that's when you really need like run the licensing. I know some states require you to be a real estate broker or have some type of license. But as long as you're managing your own, you're fine. Either owner occupied or owning your own properties or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just once you get into like the third party stuff, that's when you get into the licensing and brokerage requirements.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. And I won't say anywhere around it, but then if you have somebody who is a realtor who can be the person basically the face of that property management company, individuals under them don't have to have a real estate license in a lot of states. So, for example, I'm an agent. And I can have people who are not agent who work under me, but I'm the face of the company. I'm the one who actually is responsible for it. So everything comes through me. And yeah, it can work it that way as well.
I love that.
So I would say check your state, because out here in Arizona, when you manage property, and check your state and also the actual different municipalities, because their rules could be different. In order to manage property, you have to quote square footage when you're showing property. You have to have a license to do that. So you want to make sure, but for your own properties, it's fine unless your state says otherwise. But the question that I had, Eddie, wonderful presentation. This is the first time I've actually seen your presentation.
Thank you.
I loved it. My daughter was here actually to hear half of it. So she's very excited for you. The question that I have, because you already know my history, but I was considering, because I did commercial property management for over 11 years. And after I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. But I did consider managing, just because we were hands-on. They gave me all the bad properties. So whatever you can imagine happens to a building and the contractors in it, from fires to floods, I've dealt with. So it's like, I didn't want to do that. But when you formed your company, what were some of the things that you looked at as far as what your offerings were? And so I got the accounting part of it, but the actual management piece.
So we're talking about the property management side of my business, or like the property management side. Okay. When I first got started, I mean, and I'm not sure if you could tell me if I answered right or wrong, but basically I was just looking at what I currently had, which was a property management company that was mismanaging my property. I was looking at, okay, what do I know? And can I, just go ahead and take over, and what's the best ways to go about it? So, I kind of just created my own stuff. Like I created, from my accounting background, I created my own chart of accounts, my balance sheets, income statement, rent roll. And then we use Excel for all of it right now. And then now we're transferring to Appfolio, because they had like a minimum unit count of 50 units. So we wasn't at it at 42. So yeah, I mean, I just looked at how long it would take. It took about like a month to get all of those things together. And then also, like, I didn't want to be the one that was running it 100% every single day. I looked at also like who I know and who can help me out doing it. So my friend Jaquila, she's on the call. She started part-time with me, and I appreciate her like believing in my vision. So yes, she could even tell you, it was a challenge when we first started, but then now we have the swing of it. Now we're about a year in. Right now we have 3 people on the team, and we are at 90 units here. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have everything figured out starting out. I just was like, okay, there's no way I'm paying people when I'm having to show units as the owner myself. And keep in mind, this was like in the middle of COVID, everything was closed down, but still like it was the concept for me. I was like, okay, I'm at 42 units right now. What if I'm at 500 units? I have one third party company and we have some type of pandemic or some other event like this where everything is shut down, and now I'm not being a priority. with me as the CEO of my management company, I don't care if it's the apocalypse, like up until that last day, I'm gonna be there making sure everything is going good. Like, just playing, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, no
Yeah.
one is gonna manage your property as good. Like, no one is gonna pay the same attention to what you own than yourself. And that's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, I
Take it
agree.
that's just, yeah.
I agree. And you're also going to love Appfolio. A lot of our agents use it out here. It's phenomenal. And I believe they have their own chart of accounts too. So you'll have
Mhm.
fun with that. It tracks everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So we in the onboarding stage of it. So I think we're about like 2.5 to 3 weeks out to where we're actually fully up and going. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure so far. So I think a lot of people, they mentioned RealPage, like as far as the management side, RealPage, Appfolio, and Buildium. I've only really looked into like Appfolio, but those are like some other ones that I've heard about, that may be good options as well.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Actually, Eddie, I do have a question because you said something that I'm interested in, but then I'm a little bit hesitant on. And so that is the getting family involved part.
Mm.
How did you get to that step and get comfortable enough to say, okay, Thanksgiving dinners might not be as pleasant if things don't go right?
Yeah, great question, Greg. Thank you. So, I mean, like for me, I've always like been all in with everything I do, whether it be when I was trying to do sports or anything. So, and this is just like my family personally, they're very supportive. So it's, kind of not as difficult as like if it would have been a different case. But yeah, I mean, basically, just believing in what you're doing. Like I know, at the end of the day, if stuff is going wrong, I'm showing up and I'm trying to fix it, right? So, being full-time and fully divested in it, I just felt comfortable, reaching out. And then this is after I've done like a lot of research as well, right? So at this point, I've done research, I've gotten mentors, I've transacted on deals on my own, like the 2 wholesale deals I did before I, did my, and then my duplex and my 4-unit. So at this point, I'm in the space and I'm seeing it's working, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just being comfortable and knowing what you have to offer. And at the end of the day, you're presenting an opportunity, right? You're presenting an opportunity. It's not like you're begging for money. You're giving someone the opportunity to create wealth, right? So either they see it as a benefit or don't. So like, let's not shortchange ourselves as real estate investors, real estate professionals. We're bringing a value, and what we're providing, the standard person is not getting on their retirement accounts or they're not getting in their savings accounts. So we're creating an opportunity for a lot of people to, explode their wealth, right? So it's like not really knowing what I have to provide. Did I answer your question, Greg? Sure. I think you muted.
I think
okay.
I think you did. And the reason why I think it is that's one of the struggles I've had, a rock and a hard place, because I love my family. I want to bring them this opportunity. I see something great and I see how they can benefit from it. And I want to be able to bring it to them just as I want to bring it to any other investor, anyone who's interested in it. But you still are, I'm a little bit apprehensive, like, okay, the what if I bring it to my brother, like, nah, I'm not even interested, which he probably won't be, right? And so I'm a little bit of apprehensive, saying, okay, I don't want to get rejected by my family, first of all. Second of all, if things don't go perfectly right, these are the people who I interact with on a daily basis. And so, but I now have to think about it in terms of bringing them an opportunity, helping them to understand that opportunity, just like I'm helping other investors understand why it is an opportunity and how to differentiate between what's a good opportunity and what's not a good opportunity. And then they'll make their own grown woman decision. Absolutely. And then also, Greg, like you can use the soft touch approach too. You can go about it like a hypothetical situation, right? Like, hey, I'm invested in multifamily apartments. I'm looking to do a deal that can return double or like 92 to 100% return in the next 5 to 7 years on someone's capital. What do you think about this? Do you think this is, what's your thoughts on this, right? So it's almost like you're having a conversation with them and you're seeing
the level of interest. So it's ways to go about it and just make it a conversation without just, hey, I have a deal, invest in my deal, right? You could be like, hey, you know, I'm getting into multifamily space. I think it's a great way for me to create wealth. And, you know, we're estimating to do 100% return. So 100K investment to 200K in 5 to 7 years, or whatever your return metrics are. You could just throw it out there. What do you think about this? How does this stack up to what you're currently investing in, right? And then that's a good way to break the ice. And then now it's almost like in the future when you're having that opportunity, now it's just like a follow-up. Hey, remember a few weeks ago or a few years ago at Thanksgiving when we were talking about real estate investing, and I told you about, you know, how I was getting a deal, you know, I'm looking to get a deal that has this return. Well, I actually have an opportunity right now and I'm having a presentation on it. Would you be interested in taking a look at it? You see, it's not really so much in your face. So I don't know if that helps. I mean, I think that's a good way to break the ice as well.
Thanks,
I
Eddie.
agree. Yeah, the subtleness of it, but then being present. I agree. I think it should work.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you.
one more question. One last question. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Eddie, great presentation. You obviously spent a lot of time and effort putting that together. It looked really professional.
Thank you.
So thank you. I'm curious to know what are some things that as you scale up, or maybe you already have, that you are hoping to, you know, things that you don't enjoy, and you're hoping to delegate or outsource. You know, what are sort of like the big pieces of the puzzle that you think, you know, this really isn't my specialty. I need somebody else to bring on this. Like,
Yeah. So I'll say, like, I'll start off like on the management side of things. So I've already started taking steps to it, right? So I already knew, like, I wanted to start a management company. That doesn't really mean to say that I wanted to be a property manager. So that's not really like what I'm really good at. So I had to find someone that was better at that, right? For right now, I mean, I'm still pretty active in the business. I feel as though as we grow out, I'll start finding people that can, you know, take the place of actually running the company, and then now I can like advise and everything. You know, when I say running, I mean like day to day. You know, so I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not like it's like growing pains, right? So as you get to a certain point, you know, now you have these stresses, and then now you're trying to figure out how to delegate certain things. But when I first started, I was doing everything myself. But now it's like, you know, as we get more payroll, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I, you know, take myself out of this and replace it with someone that's better at that than me. Does that make sense? I'm sorry. I go off on a lot of tangents.
No, it's okay. I meant to also add before that, I commend you for taking your own doing your own properties management, because I do that some myself, and that's a tough,
Oh, it is.
thankless job.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's one of the reasons I'm just doing it for my own properties right now. I mean, just because the margin of profit when you're dealing with small multifamily is not really a super profitable business. You know, especially when you have a lot of time that divested in other people's like properties. So I mean, at least for me, like at the scale I am, I just thought that it would be best to just focus on our portfolio, you know, instead of like having, you know, just my time spread out in too much ways.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
All right. Want to say thank you, Eddie. I know your time is, we're not going to keep you past your time. All right. Before we go, I'd like everybody to put their cameras on, please, so you can take a shot, a screenshot here. Cecil, are you there, Cecil? Okay, thank you, Cecil.
No problem.
Okay, Aaron, you ready, brother? I said, Robert Aragona again this week. Hey, you let me down, Robert. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, on the count of 3, y'all gonna smile. All right, one more time again. Thank you. Thank you. Eddie, once again, thank you again for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Lawrence Laddie. I am the host of Financial Independence Through Small Multifamily Investing.